Hi, how are you doing? I just wanted to come on and answer a question that came up in our team group this month. So the question was about how to fuel for a 70.3 and what people did. So people will give all sorts of advice about fueling for a 70.3, and there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. And the important thing to remember is what is going to work for you and how you're going to carry your fuel and hydration on the day. So you need the practicality aspect of where is it all going to go, and also what is it going to be. So what are you going to choose to fuel with? And that really depends on you and your preferences and what you can tolerate on the bike and the run. So I've tried various different approaches, and all of them have actually worked on a 70.3. It's always quite difficult to practice this stuff in training because you're in a different kind of intensity as you are than you are in racing. So you could go out and practice your fueling strategy in your training, but when you're racing at a higher intensity than you're training at, it might be a little bit more difficult to take on that fueling and that hydration. So it's something to think about and bear in mind, but it doesn't mean don't practice and don't try things out in your training. Just be aware that it could be a little bit different on race day. So things that I've tried before, I have fueled with just gels topped up with water on the bike, and then gels on the run, and taking water from feed stations. I have done hydration mix and solid fuel on the bike, and then moved over to gels or chews on the run. And I've also used a super fuel drink, which is a high calorie drink. Scratch Labs do one that I like, and then some solid fuel on the bike, and then moved over to chews on the run and water and hydration from the feed station. All of those strategies have worked for me. They've all had positive results, and I haven't had any issues with them. For a 70.3, it is a little bit easier because you're not out for as long. So you might find that your nutrition strategy that works for a 70.3 might need a little bit of tweaking if you were doing an Ironman, but I'm talking about a 70.3 in this video. So we're just going to focus on that. In the later parts of the bike, some people like to move away from the solid fuel and start moving into chews and gels in that later stage, just so that they don't have the solid fuel that's partially digestive in their stomach going into the run, because a lot of people find when they get on the run it's a lot harder to fuel properly. But it is important to do this. You need to be fueling roughly every 20 minutes just to keep your energy levels and your carbohydrate stores topped up. If you leave it for too long, you're going to be trying to play catch up. So make sure you're trying to fuel every 20 minutes. I generally set a timer on my Garmin so that I know exactly how much time has gone between the fueling sessions. So I make sure that I'm doing that and keeping on top of it. So you can set a beeper to remind you to do that. If you forget one time, hopefully the next one will remind you and it won't be too long. But try and really be aware of that and keep in mind that you need to fuel. Sometimes the beeper will happen when you're in a place where you can't eat at that moment in time, but you just need to remember to do that. And it is about choosing where you eat as well. Sometimes you're not in a good position. You can't get whatever you need to eat out of your bag or whatever. So just as soon as the opportunity arises again, then make sure that you do that. And then you will not run out of energy when you get towards the end of the race. So keeping on top of fueling is going to help your performance. It also helps with your recovery after the race. So we're thinking long term here, making sure, especially if you've got a race that is leading up to another A race, you want to be able to recover really well so that you're able to train for that next race. Anyway, those are a few little tips for my coming from my nutrition strategy. If you've got any tips or ideas, then share them below. And remember that we are all individual and we are all different, and what works for someone might not work for you. So you really need to test out your strategy, have a plan, and then stick to that on race day. Anyway, take care. Speak soon. Bye for now.